I go on hikes and photograph the areas more in detail. Not so much always like when I would photograph, I wasn't always, I mean, I would photograph broader landscapes, but a lot of times I would just get down and focus on little, like a few square inches, you know, or something, which to me was as interesting as seeing big panoramas. But yeah, it's just, it's, I guess you haven't been, but yeah, it's a special place, you know. And I found another place similar, well, a little different, but in New Mexico called the Beastie. I told Marieken about it, called the Beastie Wilderness, but which is even, I think, it's even more remote. I think fewer people know about it. But when I was there, oh God, it's been 15, 20 years ago now that I guess I was there. But it was really, you had to take like a side road off and then park in a kind of something like a parking lot where there was one little truck there when I was there. But then you just go to and walk, and it's like walking on the surface of Mars. I mean, there's no real paths or anything. You just go and you have to sort of remember where you are because there's not much
compass or something.
I didn't have a compass, but fortunately there was a telegraph or a telephone wires that I just kind of kept as reference, so I was able to find my way back that way. But yeah, I don't know, these places, I'm fascinated by these remote little...
Do you want to speak a little bit to how your work fits into the show with the three of you guys? Well,
I don't know. I mean, I think Marieken and we've shown together before, and I mean, I think our sensibilities are very similar. I think we both extract elements of biology, geology, that we use differently, but I think they still, you know, there's still a lot of similarities in our sensibilities there. And Romina, Marieken first, you know, saw her work and suggested putting her in the show, and you know, after, I mean, I guess at first I just was thinking, like, isn't it like a little late, you know, whatever. But then I thought, like, well, not really, I guess, you know. I mean, and I saw her, you know, her work and thought it would be, really work well. I thought it would work amazingly well, and I said, yeah, let's do it. And I'm very glad that we did.
What does the title mean to you? Terra Derma?
Well, Terra is like, it's like Earth's skin, sort of. And like, for me especially, and I mean, in Marieken's case too, although I don't want to speak for her, I used paint, and actually that was one of the things I was going to say before, but it's okay. But the paint here acts as sort of like a skin. So it's hard. And so that's sort of, you know, but also that's true with a lot of my other work too. That there is kind of a factor that it is earth-like, but yet skin-like. I often use layers. And I like how, well, like in this piece too, it has a certain solidity, but yet when you go up here, it almost looks like you can sort of peel it away. You know, it has a different sort of quality to it. So again, it's sort of, I guess, you know, skin and earth, they're sort of like two you know, earth is something solid, more as skin is something, you see, it's more, well, it covers. But in this case, it's like covering, the paint is the skin that's covering the earth underneath. You know, very awkwardly put, but that's,
Excellent. Do you have any questions, thought-provoking questions for Ken? All right. Is there any last words?
I don't think so. Last words? Am I going to be shot?
You're already being shot.
Well, thank you.
What is your color palette? Has it evolved, or has it always been kind of neutral?
It's always been pretty neutral, earthy colors. There's some exceptions. I mean, this is like as much intense color as I use, probably. There's a few exceptions. And my work changes a little, but generally it's pretty much along this line. It's just again, and that partially was because I wanted to use a neutral color or something like white, because I wanted to get I wanted to see the range that I could get by just using the one color. So I do have, I have used other colors, but they're basically all, or a lot of the earlier ones, they were done by using just one color.
And the forms you put in these ones, is that referencing Earth as well?
Sorry, the forms?
Yeah, you kind of cut out a shape here.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sort of doing these more lately. I've been doing these, this series I've called Mesa series, and that are sort of roughly, they're kind of roughly based on maybe geologic forms. Not entirely, but somewhat. I guess, I'm trying to sort of hint at that without necessarily making it real evident what it is, but
kind of makes me think of how they divide state lines along rivers and
right,
mountains.
right. I mean, the other thing too is my work is, I think, I'm also been very interested in topography and topographic maps. So I think in some of these, I think that is a little evident too. But yeah, I'm just I don't know. I'm trying to introduce simple forms, and then sort of in this piece also, this is done like in a number of layers, whereas this is basically simply the tar and the paint. But this is done. There's a like tar, there's paint, and then there's another layer of tar, and then more paints. So you can see like where I sort of come almost to the edge there in the green. And then I just sort of let but not quite. But I don't know. I guess I like the sort of play between it feels sort of solid, but yet at the same time it sort of feels like you can kind of pull it, remove it or pull it off or something. Again, like a bit of a skin or something. So,
can I ask you about your influences? Are you reading anything currently? Do you like to go to museum shows? Do you fond of a particular artist?
I haven't been. Let's see. The last book I read I really love this book called, and now I'm trying to think if I have. I know that's slightly wrong. I think it's. I want to say Fifth Street or 11th, 4th Street Women or something like that. But it was basically about the. Follows like 4 or 5 abstract expressions, women from in the period of the 50s, which was sort of like the second wave of abstract expressionists. It's just a fascinating book on that time, the 50s, of the art world of the 50s, sort of between abstract expressionism and pop art. But that I really recommend, even though I don't have the right title. But
where did you find that book?
Well, I found that book. I was no longer at the bookstore when I saw the book, but I think I guess I got it at the Strand. I worked in bookstore for that was most of my 9 to 5
Oh, really?
life, yeah, for years. I worked for a store called Scribner's in the 80s, Brentano's in the 90s, and then in the 2000s I worked for Postman Books, which was a bookstore in Grand Central that was there for 15 years. It was closed. So yeah, I did merchandising, and I did windows for them at the end.